Hi, this is Grace Cho from DurianASEAN. We are at ASEAN Summit 2015 here at the Kuala Lumpur. And we have this special guest from ASEAN People's Forum. He is a chair of APF, and his name is Jerald Joseph. So my question to you is our PM mentioned about the ASEAN People's Award, which will be held in November this year. So what is your thoughts on this?
I think giving an award is a good recognition, but how would you give an award? On what criteria and basis is important? I would believe that since PM is talking about a people-centered ASEAN, then the people who sacrifices based on the principles of human rights, dignity, development people should be recognized for their struggle. I hope ASEAN will give the recognition to them because you have the Ramon Navaratnam Award, which is a very high-level award, but maybe we need a people-centered award that recognizes people on the ground.
Right. To extend my question to the next one, which is how has ASEAN actually been working on towards the human rights so far, and what's your perspectives?
In the interface earlier, the word human rights, civil liberties, and basic freedoms and environmental rights was spoken by the chair, Prime Minister, and he reaffirmed it here earlier at the press conference. So I think the script is there. And the question is, how can we realize that in ASEAN when you have so much of governments that are, so many of these governments that are probably not willing to move forward. Governments in country need to actually work to make human rights alive. To that end, then I would call on the chair of ASEAN, Prime Minister Najib, to bring that home, because we have lots of serious human rights and civil liberties issue at home with the passing of the new Sedition and Anti-Terrorism Act. And I think if he can show leadership, that will propel other countries to start rethinking its own governance on human rights, development and fundamental civil liberties.
With us is Dr. Benjamin Quiñones. He is the chairman of ASEC, or ASEAN Solidarity Economy Council. And today he's going to share with us about what exactly is solidarity economy and why it is significant to ASEAN.
Solidarity economy is a type of economy that is developed and managed by ordinary group of people, citizens. And one of the concrete examples of solidarity economy are what we call the community-based enterprise, which is organized and managed by ordinary citizens of communities. Now we are aware of the terminology small, micro, medium enterprises, but they comprise the bulk of enterprises, in ASEAN countries. But they also are known to merge with one another, to cluster with one another in the form of cooperative, association, club, or the non-formal self-help group in order to build their own supply chain. Now, we call that kind of initiative by the name of solidarity economy. Now, there are concrete examples that are emerging in ASEAN countries, one of which is what community-supported agriculture. This is a partnership between organized group of consumers, normally from the urban areas, and the rural producers. They're also organized. So the consumers, they pay in advance for the produce, and the farmers produce what was paid for in advance. And so they develop that kind of friendly relationship such that there's no more need for a middleman. In a report about the growth in ASEAN, there has been the rate of urbanization has increased together with economic growth. And for example, in many ASEAN countries, the rate of urbanization has gone up to 44-46%. I think it's higher in Kuala Lumpur, in Malaysia. If you look at the whole ASEAN, it could be that countries like Malaysia, which is highly urbanized, can partner, with neighboring countries. They can provide, the agriculture. You don't have to buy the land. You just, pay for the produce. So the concept, the principle of community supported can be applied throughout ASEAN, which means to say we become one community. Those highly urbanized can now look at their neighbors as their own farm without paying for the land, only paying for the produce. Now, what will happen is, if that happens, then you promote ecotourism. People will be traveling, looking into the kind of farms that they have ordered, their food, and they'll be bringing their families. So you can imagine if ecotourism is flourishing, then travel will also be growing. Hotels and restaurant services will be flourishing, and there will be movement of goods and services.
With me, of course, is Dr. Denison Jayasuriya. He is the Principal Research Fellow of KITA UKM. It's an Institute for Ethnic Studies. So today we are going to comment about the Prime Minister's speech during the opening ceremony of the ASEAN Summit, where he highlighted on the part related to the people-centered ASEANs. So what's your view regarding on Prime Minister Najib Razak's speech?
I think the speech draws some very significant points to strengthen the concept and notion of a people-centered ASEAN. And I want to highlight two of the many points that he highlighted, which to me stood out in his speech. One is that the people-centered ASEAN is one in which citizens of one particular nation state do not feel themselves to be Filipino, Malaysian, or Cambodian, or Indonesian, but that they will have an ASEAN feeling, a sense that they are ASEANites. Secondly, he highlighted that ASEAN leadership must constantly engage and listen to these sections of the community. And he called for an interface at 4 levels with 4 different segments of society: youth, civil society, business groups, and parliamentarians. But the limitation that comes out is he doesn't give a formal space for such interfacing, and also there are no new mechanisms for this engagement, because civil society, like people at the People ASEAN of the ASEAN People's Forum, although they have had a very good gathering of 1,400, but the actual participation in the summit, their input in terms of accreditation of civil society is not formalized. And the mechanism and the institutionalization of that is not rigorous, constructive, transparent, accountable. And I think this is where ASEAN needs to move beyond political rhetoric to creating the space and the formal mechanism.
With me is Alexander Wang. He is from China Daily Asia Pacific. And in conjunction with the 26th ASEAN Summit in Kuala Lumpur, I would like to ask regarding on the ASEAN Economic Community and how it relates to the ASEAN Infrastructure Investment Bank, as well as its relationship with Hong Kong and China in terms of trade and investment.
I think this AIB could be a game changer, a game driver for further integration within ASEAN, but for even more integration with the Chinese economy, because this is a brand new thing. As of today, we already have, to my understanding, 57 countries confirming to be, founding members or members of this AIB, and this is exactly what Asia needs: infrastructures, investments. Hong Kong plays a very important role in increasing or the flow of capital, not only from China outside, but also into China regionally, intra and inter-regionally. Hong Kong is a super financial hub because Hong Kong has already been the largest RMB settlement clearing center.
ASEAN will be one of the largest in the world in terms of market access and market space. But I would like to know more, would it would banks like AIIB be a huge competitor with other infrastructure banks such as the ADB as well as the World Bank?
Infrastructure investments are, hugely needed in Asia. There was a figure saying that we will need about 800 billion US dollars a year just for the infrastructure investments in Asia. And as a result, no single multilateral or international bank could finance it. I think they are complementary with each other. I think they will work hand in hand together, even though they will have their own priorities. AIIB obviously will have a focus on Asia, and a large chunk of it will be on ASEAN.
What kind of barriers that ASEAN countries, individual ASEAN countries, need to overcome in order for them to be an absolute a single market for the future?
The single most important barrier would be the anything that hinders the movement of people. Say, for example, the travel tourism visa or business visa. I think once you remove this, you will boost this intra and inter-ASEAN tourism and traveling a lot, and at the same time, you will attract a lot more tourists from China.
With me is Sri Ramon Navaratnam. He is the chairman of Center for Public Policy Studies. So, question about the ASEAN integration. Do you think ASEAN integration is something that Malaysia can move forward and in line with our vision here, one community, one vision and one people?
I think we are in a very privileged position because our Prime Minister, Dr. Sri Najib Tun Razak, will be chair of ASEAN Economic Community, which will be launched towards the end of this year. And he has expressed very strong desire to add value, to do more, to ensure that the ASEAN community succeeds. And so the slogan of one community, one vision, one people is something we should aim to get to realize. And this can be done by perhaps overcoming the problems we've had in the past, which is weak support from the people, and because people were not fully aware of ASEAN and its advantages, and because they were not given the opportunity perhaps sufficiently to participate, to contribute to the development of this community.
Given the limitation of ASEAN as well as ASEAN governments, what can we foresee in terms of the post-ASEAN 2015, the one that the ASEAN governments will be producing in for the next 10 years?
Basically, again, more collaboration, cooperation, and getting the people and the youth involved, because it's their future. And we have achieved a great deal in the last almost 50 years. There's peace, there's prosperity, there's harmony, there's goodwill, but it must be deepened, spread out to the masses. They must see the advantage of it. Increased tourism, all kinds of exchange of knowledge in agriculture and technology, in education, and then people will feel they are part of ASEAN.